Hi, this is Scott Bradshaw. Welcome back to Cafe Quoteria. This particular video today is going to be really targeted towards small groups, small businesses, for people specifically, for companies and organizations, usually individuals, entrepreneurs, but who actually are not currently offering benefits to their employees. If you're offering benefits to your employees, I'll have a separate video for that later. But if you're not, you probably have some questions. You know, is it worth it? Is the money worth it? What's the cost? What's the benefit? That's kind of what we're going to discuss. Before we get into that, I want to talk about what comprises a small business in the state of Texas. Now, in other states, you can have as few as one employee and actually be a small group. I don't know. In Texas, we don't consider a group to be one, but in other states, they do. But here in Texas, you have to have at least 2 full-time employees and up to 50. Actually, through 50. You can have anywhere between 2 and 50 employees, however many that is, and you are a small group. Now, there are some criteria here. A full-time employee is defined as someone who works 30 or more hours. Not 40, but 30 or more hours. That's a full-time employee. You could have more than 50 employees. You could have 75 or more. But if only 50 worked 30 or more hours, you would qualify as a small group in Texas. Heck, you could have 2,000 employees. But if only 50 worked 30 hours or more, you'd still be a small group. So, make sure we get this. 30 hours or more is full-time. Less than 30 hours is part-time, and it doesn't count. And if you have between 2 and 50 employees, that will qualify you for a small group plan. Now, as a small businessman, all business decisions you make really boils down to cost versus benefit. Is it really worth the expense? And when you're a small business, every little dollar counts. I really get this because I, just like you, am a small businessman. You know, Cafe Quoteria isn't a Fortune 500 company. We don't have 10,000 employees worldwide. I kind of wish we did, but we don't. We don't have 1,000. We don't have 100. In fact, we don't even have 10. So we're a small business. And most of the small businesses that are just beginning to get insurance are kind of in that same boat. They have probably around 10, maybe less employees, and they're really thinking about it. So this video is designed to kind of help you as a small businessman or woman make a decision as to, at least I'm going to give you the facts and let you make a decision what seems like the best thing for you. So let's kind of split this down the middle. Let's kind of compartmentalize this idea, and let's talk about the benefit side of benefits, providing benefits, the benefits, and the costs associated with it. Well, let's start with the benefit side. With benefits, there's really 2 components that I can see. And the first is an extremely valuable component. You may know a little bit about my background. I may have mentioned this in some other videos, but for 25 years, I was in the corporate world, mostly in the financial side, a little bit of marketing, but mostly in financial institutions. Some of that time I was in consulting for public accounting, and I was in a lot of different companies, mostly financial institutions again, but also other industries as well. All in all, I've probably been in 150 to 200 different companies in my career. And one thing everywhere I went just kept standing out at me. The longer a company could retain its employees, the more respected that company was in the industry. By its competitors, by its customers, even annual polls taken by journals and magazines, listing the best places to work or the best companies. Routinely, these companies rated higher in those polls the longer their workforce had been there. Now, there's a reason for this, and it's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward. If you have a workforce that's been around a long time, they know what they're doing, and they know your business. And they also, kind of importantly, kind of know each other. They know how each other works. They know which people that should be working together on a project probably are going to work out, and these 3 people over here probably aren't going to work out on the same project. There's a lot of dynamics that goes on in a company besides just knowing the systems or the procedures or the policies. It's also knowing who to go to and who not to go to get this done or that done, who works together well, just knowing the business backwards and forwards. I've seen a lot of small insurance agencies where you'll find after a certain number of years, that insurance agent, the primary one, isn't in the agency because they're out on the golf course. Now, right now in Texas, it's like 15 degrees outside, so you wouldn't find them out there today, but on a typical day, you probably would. And if you went back and looked at their office, what you would find is those employees in their office, those employees have been there a long time, and they know that business, and that insurance agent, that small businessman, would not have been successful without those people in that office, without having those people work for him for 10, 15, 20 years. That retention is important. And so when you're looking at providing benefits to your employees, you got to ask yourself, does that help retain those employees longer or not? And it's a real simple answer. Of course it does. And even worse, if your competitors, if you're trying to get your employees, are offering it and you're not, you're going to lose those employees. So the long-term benefits of offering benefits to your employees is very valuable to you. The longer you can keep your employees, the lower you can push down your turnover, the more effective your business is going to be. It's going to increase your customer service. It's going to increase your sales. It's going to increase your customer retention. And that's going to make you successful over the long haul. So there's an enormous benefit to providing benefits to your employees and keeping them there as long as you can. Now, I know a lot of other factors go into keeping your employees, but that's one important one. Now, there's another aspect to providing benefits to your employees that is important to me and that I'm going to kind of mention here. It's kind of the human side of things. It's when you go to bed at night, do you feel good about yourself? Now, some people I know could probably care less, but I'm not that way. I think most of us aren't that way. We actually do want to think of ourselves as good people. So providing benefits to your employees allows you to at least feel like you're doing something good for someone else and you're a good person. Now, of course, we have to balance all those benefits, those two major benefits, against, again, we have this little compartmentalized thing, the costs. So these benefits are important and they're good and they're valuable, but the costs are also potentially offsetting. And are they too great or are they too small? So let's just take a small business. Let's take one, let's say that has 10 employees, a certain number of spouses and children have signed up to. It'll be less than you think it's going to be, by the way. And the total cost for your monthly premiums, let's just say, are $5,000 a month. Yeah, everybody just fell out of their chairs, right? Well, get back up in it, and stick with me, because it's going to be a lot less than that for you. The first thing you have to realize is that it's kind of a requirement, pretty much, that you've got to pay 50% of your employees' premiums, not their spouses and not their children's. Now, 50%. You do not have to pay more than that. And most small businesses I deal with don't. They provide the benefits, the plan, the group plan, and they pay 50% of the employees' premiums. Now, you're welcome to pay 75% or 100% or whatever you want. You can pay for spouses and children. You can pay for their deductibles. You can pay for everything, but you don't have to. You have to pay for 50% of the employees' premiums, and that's very common in the industry. It's pretty much the norm. So let's say you have a $5,000 monthly nut you have to pay. That's your total premium. You got to cover that somehow. But let's say $2,000 of it is only is for the spouses and the children. You don't pay that $2,000. The employee pays that. So that leaves you only $3,000. 5,000 minus 2 is $3,000. Now remember, that's the portion of your premium related to your employees. You're paying 50% of that. So now you're at $1,500. Well, we got down from $5,000 to $1,500 awfully fast. So the question you have to ask yourself now, the value to your employees, the value to you, those benefits we just discussed, are those enough to substantiate paying $1,500 a month? That's the real question, isn't it? I can't answer that question for you. Only you can answer that question for you. But you need to rely on professionals to give you the information you need to get there. Now, the cool thing about this illustration is I'm not finished. The $1,500 is just where you are now. There's tax benefits associated with this $1,500 that can be pretty substantial. And there's 3 different ways we can get those benefits. The first is with the Affordable Care Act. Everybody knows what that is? Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act? You all heard of that, right? You probably heard it called Obamacare. Well, Obamacare isn't a real name. It's a coined name. It's a fictitious name. It's a made-up name. The actual name of the actual act is Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. And according to that act, you can qualify, if you're a small business, up to 50% tax credit on how much you pay. Now that's how much you pay. That's the $1,500 out of your pocket. But a tax credit means you get half of that back, $750. So your cost is really $1,500 less up 50, leaves you $750. Now understand something, and I want to be totally transparent about this. You might not get a 50% tax credit. This is the best case scenario, but these are the questions you need to be asking yourself. You could qualify for that if you have less than 25 employees and they make less than $25,000 a year. Now I'm going to produce a separate video that kind of discusses all the issues, not all the issues, but many of the issues related to the tax impacts of the Affordable Care Act. I explain to you, what kind of credit and tax benefits might be available to you. You're welcome to go to a tax attorney or tax accountant to get those same kind of questions answered. But let's use a best case scenario here. We were at $1,500, you have a $750 tax credit, so now your actual cost is $750. $750. Now, same question as before. Does $750 monthly expense, does that justify these benefits you're getting to both your employees and long-term benefits to yourself? Again, I can't answer that. You're looking for me for answers? I can't. It's up to you. But there's even more tax benefits. The $1,500 that you paid, less the $750, means there's $750 that you've paid towards your taxes, and those expenses are tax deductible. So you actually would save more money. If you're in a 30% tax bracket, I think that's, $750, $225. So you have the $750 less $225 is $525. I've done that correctly in my head. That's $525 remains. So once again, you ask yourself the question, does the $525 justify all these benefits? It's again a question you have to answer. But we're still not finished. You could establish an HSA account with certain types of plans, or an FSA account, and you could give those to your employees, where they can actually take a portion of their income, put it aside on a pre-tax basis, and pay for medical expenses. Now they can't pay for their premiums, but they can pay for things like prescriptions and doctor visits and co-pays and deductibles and the out-of-pocket expenses they have. Even for things like chiropractors and stuff, they can use that and pay for it on a pre-tax basis. Now the beautiful thing to you as an employer, to this, a small businessman, okay, is that if they take that money out of their income on a pre-tax basis, you don't have to pay payroll taxes on it. Not ever. So let's say payroll taxes are roughly 10%. It will vary from industry to industry, but let's just say it's 10% for sake of easy ways of calculating it. And let's say that your employees on average spend $200 a month per all 10 employees on some kind of medical expense. It could be a prescription, it could be anything. They put that aside, that's $2,000 a month they're putting aside that you're not having to pay payroll taxes on. 10% times $2,000 is another $200 tax savings to you. So we were at $525, I think was the number, less $200. We're down to $325. That's the actual cost under this scenario, which is the best case scenario, but that's the actual cost to you of this plan of providing these benefits to your employees. So now you're not at $1,500, we're not at $5,000, we're at $325. And the question really is that something that you could justify providing these benefits? Which of these things is the best? You can put them on a scale and weigh them, okay? And I can't make that decision for you. You can. But if you would like to, talk to professionals about it, like someone like myself, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana, Aetna, United Healthcare, Assurant, those kinds of companies, get group quotes from them, compare them, find out the quotes, the policies that best fit your needs, look at what the tax impacts are going to be and the actual net cost to you, and weigh those things against each other. You need, as a small businessman, to collect that information and make a good decision. Because in the long run, providing benefits to your employees could be the smartest move you've ever made. Yeah, but only you can make that decision today. So thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Scott Bradshaw. See you next time.